been working hard, but she's still on the battlefield. It says a lot when you can go away and come back to your home. Sometimes people go places and they'll never come back. But you know, we talked about that this morning in Sunday school when we were rooted and grounded. And I'm a little hoarse because I'm a football coach at Northwestern High School, and I spent a lot of time yelling yesterday because it was the first day of 2 days, and I'm kind of tired. But that's okay because God, there's still a word from the Lord. One thing I want you to understand is that this is not what Brother Harris is saying. This is what thus saith the Lord. Now, I'm bereaved because one of my closest brothers in the Lord has passed away, Brother Manny Taylor, over at University Park Church of Christ. And Manny was almost 80 years old. And I'm going to do his funeral on Tuesday. And what's interesting about Manny is that Brother Manny always wrote stuff down. He was a chemist, a lab manager at Fort Detrick, and retired. And biological warfare, all this stuff he did, I don't know what he did. It wasn't my business, but I know he came to church and became a Christian. But one thing Brother Manny always did is he kept a Smith Corona typewriter on the table. And Brother Manny, if you see this book, this is his book. He would type out notes and stuff. He would have stuff, and sometimes Manny would have stuff out there. I'm like, man, where you get that from? He said, well, it makes sense to him. And so, you know, I was looking at this in preparation for the service, and it's something that he put down here about the church. And he said the church is to hold Christ before the people. The church is to hold Christ before the people. The church was not invented by men. Men have used it and misused it, but the church was founded by Christ. Christ is the heart of the church and its Lord. The church exists to bear witness to Christ. Christ himself, not the church, is transforming power in men's life. And I tell you, Brother Manny was on it. And so, you know, I said, man, he's speaking to the grave. In fact, the last time I saw him was last Thursday. And Thursday, I didn't think he was sick. He said, we were talking about hospice care. And man, they made up his mind. It's time to go. He said, I don't want to eat this, this, and that. I'm like, come on, man, eat your food, man. And in fact, I was going to eat his food. And I said, no, child, free food. He was tired, and he was in so much pain, so he couldn't even lay down. And so I tried to move the television so he could see Sanford and Son. He couldn't lay down. He couldn't stand up. He just was ready to go. And sure enough, I left there. The elders called me a couple of days ago. I'm like, what? He's dead? I said, just saw this. But you know what? That's okay. Because Manny came to Christ later in life. I'm going to take this coat off. It's a little hot. Is it hot? Yeah, a little bit? That's all right. Make sure some holes in here. Don't worry about that. It's not important. But you know, I'm talking about two tailors real quickly. God has blessed me this week to be in the company of great men. And that's not to always, not folks in your church or whatever, but if you read the article, watched the post yesterday, I did a piece on Gardner Taylor, 93 years old, one of Dr. King's mentors. And in the National Convention of the Progressive National Baptist Convention, they had it at the hotel. This was a man who Time magazine listed in 1979 one of the greatest theologians ever lived. And he was the one who they had to split. I don't know, I grew up in the Baptist church. And the great split between the National Baptist USA and the Progressives was over Dr. King. And part of it was over tenure and civil rights. I don't know if you know this. Most of y'all was in the church. But anyway, one guy named J.H. Jackson was a minister. And he was fighting, and my grandmother used to work with him. And he wanted to be in a lifetime appointment. The church was all about him. And then the other folks thought the church should be with the civil rights struggle. In fact, we are leading up to that day in a couple of weeks when we dedicate the memorial to Dr. King. I'm writing articles about that. But everybody think that everybody was just Dr. King and he just dreaming and sleeping and everything was so happy. It wasn't like that. There are people who were against this. There are people who said, I don't want to get involved with that. That's too radical. And what happened was a group of young people in their 20s. Dr. King was in the 20s. Young people who came out and decided to be different, decided to do stuff. And so Gardner Taylor was like the mentor. And so he paid a heavy price for that. But the bottom line is that what was interesting to me, and I met him years ago, and to see him this week, man, he's 93 years old. And he's in a wheelchair. And Cornel West and Tavis Smile, all these guys come into town. They meeting with him and all this stuff, and all these 1,000 people. And then they entourage left, the preachers left, and they were cleaning up the Marriott Waterman Park. Most people were gone. And Gardner Taylor was still there in his wheelchair, shaking people's hands, talking to people. All the big wigs were gone. But he said, no, I'll stay here to everybody who wants to see me. And I remember hearing a sermon a long time ago. He said, we serve a God who knows us by our name. Now, sometimes the commitment of people, just like Brother Manny, Brother Manning was in the hospital last week, and we're having Bible study. This man is days before death. And the crazy man came into the room and was yelling and screaming. And what Manning said was not call security, was not get out of my room anyway. He said, Jesus Christ is my Lord. That's what I remember Manning said. His response to sin was Jesus Christ is my Lord. Amen. And sometimes, you know, as a brother, I ain't too young no more, but I need inspiration. I need soldiers. I need soldiers who will go into battle with me, who I can depend on, who I can lean on. This morning in Sunday school, that's why it's important to come to Sunday school. We talked about the parable of the sower. And in the parable of the sower, look real quickly into Luke. Luke chapter 8. Luke chapter 8. Still get used to this Facebook thing. I don't know. All right. I'm going to try it one more time. It's all right. But Luke chapter 8. Verse 6. Who has that? Luke 8. I like folks to read. So Luke 8, Mark, Luke 8, verse 6. Who has that? Somebody read it, Richard, real quick.
Okay. Verse 6. Some fell on rock, and when it came up, the plants withered because they had no moisture.
Stop right there. And then go to the next verse.
Okay, it says, other seed fell among thorns, which grew up with it and choked the plants.
Okay, now most times when we do the parable of the sower, we focus on the first little seed that fell on the hard soil that was hard and hard and hard. Remember that? We know that. Then we go to the choked out seed. Then we go to the good seed. You know, we always think three. But it's actually four things. That second seed talks about seed that falls in the middle of the rocks. And it withers because it doesn't get any moisture. It dies because it's not being nourished. It's not like, it's almost like you come to church and like I told this morning, I said, what if you had a can of vegetables or something and I feed you one pea at a time or one kernel at a time and I'm giving you something to eat, but I'm giving you one little piece at a time. And people say, well, what's wrong with him? I don't know, I'm feeding him, I'm taking care of him. But why is he getting starved? Why is he starving? What if you had a little baby? And the little baby, you say, well, the baby's hungry, but you give the baby one little morsel of bread at a time. And you can't, and you say, well, I don't know what's her problem is, she's just not eating. No, the problem is you're going through the motion of feeding, but the child is not being nourished. That's what's wrong with the church today, folks, is that so many times we go through the motion. Well, I go to church, but you're starving yourself. Are you being fed? Are you getting the word? Are you getting prayer? Are you have the foundation? You're in the rocks. You're in the right place, but you're not. It's a disconnect between you and the nourishment. Instead of getting a healthy portion of the Lord, a healthy portion of prayer, a healthy portion of the water that you need, you're just getting just a little bit. You're getting in drips. A drip. A drip. You can't live on a drip of faith. What am I talking about? Before you understand 1 Corinthians 9:24 and running this race, the first thing we tell our athletes is you got to eat right. Now here I am, big as a house. I ate too much. There's other folks who look better than me, okay? The point is that in order to be a soldier, in order to be an athlete, it starts what they call on the training table. You know that. Like I said, I coach football. I work with the Redskins too. And to cover the stories, they have a program called Fourth in Life. And they have the training table, and they make sure they're well fed. Before they go prepare, they make sure they're well hydrated. They make sure they're prepared. But Christians, brothers and sisters, how many of us are not prepared for the race of life because we haven't been fed? We haven't had our nourishment. How many times you can't imagine going too far in the day without having your food? I haven't had what? My breakfast. I haven't had my this. I haven't had nourishment. You say, oh my goodness. You know, if you're diabetic, you really are conscious about that. Why? Because you know that sugar level will drop a certain level. That's going to tell you, you better get something to eat or you're going la-la. Or having a show. Why? The body needs replenishment. Well, the spiritual body needs replenishment. And so before we start talking about running this race, we got to make sure that we're rooted and grounded in nourishment. And if you're starving, I'm starving for affection. See, the world has misappropriated affection. Affection is not sex. Affection is not high heels. Affection is not just looking good for 30 minutes on a show in between 3 commercial breaks. You know, the Desperate Housewives or whatever, That's just whatever that is. The thing about it is affection. You know, it goes beyond the look. It goes beyond what's in your pocketbook. It goes beyond what you smell like, what you look like, how you curve, how you shape up. It's about your life and your heart. And we need affection. We need love. If a baby cries, what stops the baby from crying? When you hug the baby and you rock the baby. What's that rockabye baby on the tree? You know that story. You know, and let's think about it. You're rocking the child because you want the child to know that I got your back. But some of us come out here and we don't get the hugs. We don't get to rock it. We don't get the attention we need. And we just go through life just thinking it's okay to be on a spiritual drip. A drip. Oh, I got a little sermon here. I got a little song there. And just a drip. And you're just existing, but you're not thriving. Yeah, you're a person. And you know, the thing about it is that some folks make the decision to live a drip, to not be fed. It just, but you know what? The testing will come. Yeah. And like I said this morning in Sunday school, the best story I've ever heard is the 3 little pigs. You know, you got 3 houses in Woodmore, whatever, I don't know where they were. You got a straw house, you got a wooden house, and a brick house. Now, as long as everything is fine, you can live in your little straw house or your wood house. It don't matter. But what happens when the wolf comes and the wind comes? Then you're going to see what house really built up. That straw house could be just like somebody who goes to church maybe just a couple times a year, Christmas, Easter. You know, hey, I got a little faith, that's all. And then you got that wood house where, you know, I'm on Sunday. I'm a Sunday morning Christian. I'm always there. I'm going to be there for Sunday morning. I'm there. You know, I don't have to go through all that stuff. And sometimes we over here in this brick house, going to church Sunday, Wednesday, having Bible study. You looking over there and say, man, you know what? Is there any difference? I'm here all the time. They don't even go but once a month or once a year. They got a nice house. They got a family. They got a job. There's no difference. But you know what? Let the storm come. Let that storm of life. Let you lose your job. Let you lose your spouse. Let you go through a hard time. And the folks in the straw house don't have nothing standing. Then they start doing crazy things and killing themselves and do stuff. Because what you realize, it wasn't how it looked on the outside, but what was on the inside that determines the strength. And see, before we go through 1 Corinthians 9:24, I need to set that stage. We need to be strong. We need to be nourished. And why am I saying that? Because if you don't get it, you will starve to death. Don't fake this thing. Just like I said, you know, if I went out there today, and I went to the sporting because they got something to fit me, and I put on a Washington Redskins shirt, and I'm a big guy, I can fool a few people, I hold my stomach in a little bit, and put on some dark glasses, rent one of y'all nice cars out here, put on a leather coat, put some earrings, you had to wear earrings to be a football player, all kind of diamonds, get some Super Bowl rings. People may say, oh man, that's a football player. But does that make me a football player? No. Does the uniform make me a player? No. Huh? Does that make me an athlete because I look like one? No. How many people walk around with shirts on and stuff and with Redskins? They so bold now, people wear their names. They wear the names of the players. And people don't care why. Because they know you're a fan. They know you're not a player. And so I play football, I'm proud to say, for Florida State. And in Tallahassee, we were a pretty good team. We went 11-0. And I would see people that would have the uniform. I wasn't used to this fan thing. So fans would have our shirts on, and I would sit there, and I would come up behind people here because I played on the team, and I thought that was my colleague. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. They said, who are you? I said, I was looking out to play. You won? And they like, got to go. I'm like, we learn run from people, man, because people crazy, man. They see you, they say, they change. Because again, if you were in that realm, you trying to find your buddies. You trying to find your soul. And you know what's interesting now? Here I am, 51 years old. A lot of the brothers that I played with,